Then, my name is Drew Clayton Brown. March 20th, 1984 is the day that I jumped onto this planet.
You jumped?
Here I am.
You
Absolutely. I jumped upon this planet. I spawned. Respawned.
Spawned.
That's right.
30 Rock reference. Love it.
All right.
All right. I'm going to try this. We're going to see if this background shows up at all.
I don't even recognize you. Like, where even are you? Who are you?
Who am I? I'm sitting down.
The Brian I know is on a nondescript turquoisey pale blue background. Who even are you, sir?
One would
How
think,
very
right?
dare you? Identity theft is a crime.
That's right. Well,
Millions of people are effective, Jim.
Good stuff. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Now I'm finally ready. All right. Hey, everybody. It is episode number 16 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
And I am Drew Brown.
Yeah, you are. And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to be talking about Halloween-themed pens and ink. Seems appropriate at the end of September. Our favorite nib designs and the drama that goes on behind the scenes with pen retailers. Bum, bum, bum. And I also, for those of you watching the video form, maybe not so much the audio, but I have a new background. I'm actually in the same room that I normally record. I just turned around backwards so that you can see my beautiful fake fireplace here instead of a plain wall. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping everything looks okay and that I'm in focus and the lighting's all right. But it's at least different, I guess, Drew, right?
Yeah, we might even catch some wildlife back there. You've got, you often have a variety of fauna showing up out those windows.
There is some fauna and some flora happening behind me, but I have the curtain closed so that it's not like, weird blinding stuff happening from the sun, because that tends to happen, So let's start out with some feedback from past episodes. Drew, and we got a bunch of it.
We do have some feedback, and I've got a theme to my section of the feedback this week, Brian, and
all right.
The theme is feedback.
Oh, I like that. That's very topical. Very
topical.
Well,
it is, because this feedback, I want to just talk about the feedback. This is feedback about feedback. All right, so here we go. PMJ on YouTube says simply, Pelican Twist, yay! And Pete Azuz, also from YouTube, says, Noodler's Beaver, yay! And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because that's the way I comment on a lot of things that I comment on, and it comes from a place of genuine excitement and passion. And when I see comments like that, like, yes, it's just it really kind of means nothing at first glance, but honestly, that sort of stuff just gets me so jazzed up because I feel like I'm with those people. I feel like you're watching it live, and I just hear your actual reactions, and it puts a smile on my face, because the fact that we can generate just that instant kind of yay feeling, like you're right there with us, I just dig that so much. And it's how we operate here. We just get jazzed up about something and we're just like, yay, that thing. I think I might have said that to somebody today on their Instagram story. I was like, oh, yay, that thing. And I don't even remember what it was, but it's just so natural and real, and I really, really love it. And here's another one from Florence47. She says, I know this sounds weird, but these sorts of videos are a little hard to comment on. There are so many good points that come up, so many good questions, that it doesn't make sense to post a comment until after you've watched the whole episode, and then you've got like 8 points you want to cover. Smiley tears. Maybe I just talked too much, but that's nothing new. I remember what you did with Q&A, where you had a question of the week. I don't really have a solution for you. Maybe Brian can talk about this question of the week thing after me. But again, I wanted to mention that I'm so glad that Florence here just wants to say something about all these points, because that's just a level of interactivity that I get so happy about, and I want to hear all of it. I really do. I love going through the comments. I love listening to just your reactions to the things that Brian and I discuss. It really, you're here with us now. Whether you're watching this sooner or later, you're with us. Like this, we are sharing this together. So please feel free to comment as though you are right here, because we love it, and that's what we want to do. We want to establish something that feels connected. So, what is this question of the week thing, Brian?
I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Just at the end of every Q&A that I did, I would have a question of the week. Sometimes it was pen related, sometimes it was not. It was meant to be sort of a writing prompt if people wanted something to journal about or whatever, or obviously people could comment in the comments on kind of a unified question. So I would, we can definitely resurrect that. I could probably even pull some of the old questions that I had. I have a whole spreadsheet of tons of questions and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe we'll,
a lot of the times
we'll
our hypotheticals end up being kind of the primary question that gets answered in the comments.
Yeah, maybe that one was just because it was always at the end, so that was like the one that you were left with.
Interesting.
So we could at least just prompt some question we've talked about earlier in the broadcast and prompt that at the end. I don't know. We'll think about it.
Oh, interesting. Well, thank you, Florence. There's this one comment. I don't know if you've seen any of these, Brian. There's one person on YouTube that just hates me. They just hate themselves some Drew Brown. No joke. I clicked on their name. Everything they say on our channel is just talking about like how much they hate Drew and how Drew shouldn't be in any videos and stuff like that. So you should probably get rid of me. Just saying.
Sounds like it. Like it. Yeah.
I'm horrible. I'm disingenuine.
Wow.
I'm fake as well. Don't know if you knew that about me, but
I wish I could say that was true, but what you see is what you get when it comes to Drew Brown. That
is true.
This is the real deal. It's actually not fake. This is who he is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes you like him more or not, Mr.
For real though, there are a lot of people that annoy me for no reason at all. So it makes sense that I'm at least that for one person.
I mean, you're not going to please everybody,
No, absolutely not. I'm sure you've got those comments before too.
Oh yeah, a lot of times about how like sweaty my armpits are, or how hairy my hands are in certain videos, and
how dare you?
I'm like, okay, whatever, it's fine. You still watch the video, so it can't be that bad. I mean, no, I get it.
That's cool. Okay. No, that's all I have.
You should just try changing everything about your personality, Drew, and who you are.
That's the next step. The next step, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty evident. I mean, it's resounding feedback here. So I have some other feedback that is not related to any of that, but also has a common theme. So this is all in response to the topic of transcribing an entire book using a fountain pen, which I think is commendable. No matter what book or anything that you're trying to do, it's commendable just to even attempt it. So we found out that a number of our pen friends are actually already doing this. Rick is copying and translating his grandfather's cookbook, which that's pretty cool because that's super sentimental. So that I dig. The Inky Hobbit is copying 1984 and is halfway through it. To which I would say that if you were to write it in Newspeak, you might be able to condense it, fewer words, and so on. Puneet is copying Lord of the Rings and is halfway through. That is amazing. You could stop right there and feel accomplished. Stephanie is copying Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, another lengthy one. Robot Porter is a professional writer who does drafts in fountain pen. So they get about 50,000 words in an A5 Clairefontaine and figures it would take about 12 such notebooks to copy out all of the Lord of the Rings, which I gotta be honest, 12 A5s, that's not as many as I probably would have thought. If you did an A4, that's twice that size. So theoretically, 6 A4s in a Clairefontaine to do all of Lord of the Rings, that's respectable. So I don't know.
Is an A4 twice the size of an A5?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so literally you take an A4 and you just like chop it in half. Here's an A5, right? So this is an A5. Number 16 Rhodia. Well, the number 18 Rhodia is an A4. It's literally just like turned sideways. You take another one, put it up here, and here, I'll try and give a visual.
I never knew that. I knew that. I always thought that was just approximate.
There you go. That's an A4.
Wow.
Nope. That's literally how it works. You can look up paper sizes on Wikipedia, and it has a whole chart that shows how they're all chopped down. And an A3 is 2 A4s put together, and A2 is 2 A3s to put together, and so on.
That makes way too much sense.
It does make a lot of sense. But then there's like B sizes and C sizes, and stuff just gets crazy. And then you get into like American sizes, which don't make any sense.
Exactly. But that's why it startles me. It makes too much sense for my American brain.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about new stuff because we have a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about. One of which, this is not new products per se, but it's an update on some pricing, which we don't always like super talk about because sometimes it just happens here and there, popcorn
But
style.
This one is kind of a big deal.
This is a big deal because it's happening to Noodlers. So Noodlers has not undergone, I mean, they've done a price increase here and there on a certain product, but they've never done kind of a blanket price increase since we started carrying the brand like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So they are doing that. I can only imagine how much it pains Nathan to have to raise any price ever for anything. So clearly he had to think long and hard about this one, but this is the way of the world, right? Everything's harder with COVID. Supplies are short and shipping times and everything is crazy. But so it's something you can check up on. I mean, I literally have every price here, but the 3 ounce bottles of ink are going to go from they're going to range between $14 and $22, depending on which ink you're talking about. Right now they start around $12.50, so it's like a $1.50 increase there. The 4.5 ounce bottles are going to be $20.50 on up to $27. The Neponset's going to be $84. The Boston Safety Pen's going to be $61.60, and so on and so forth. You can check on the website to see all of the prices. They'll go into effect on October 1st. We're going to plan to put it up, on social media. We might have an email or something like that we put out, but you should be able to see those prices soon. So if you want to save a couple of bucks, go ahead and get your Noodler's order in sooner than later. That would be my
and with
suggestion.
Nathan, he is no doubt doing this because he does not want to compromise anything else with his actual products.
For sure.
He might be able to stave this off a little bit longer if maybe he put less ink in the bottles or if he used different materials but he's not going to do that. Like his product has always come first, and he would sometimes rather stop making something entirely than to compromise its quality. So,
which he has done before.
I believe he has with some inks. Like the one ingredient, became too expensive that he would have to raise it to a level he wasn't comfortable with. So he's like, okay, cool, not doing that anymore then. Yeah,
that's definitely happened. Or he's like reformulated an ink because of that, because some dye component became unavailable or was too expensive. Do you remember the time, Drew? This was a few years ago, but the
Army Green?
Army Green's gone back and forth, but no, he changed the bottles from glass bottles to plastic.
I can't forget that.
Like all the ink bottles from glass to plastic, and we had to rephotograph everything twice because it changed back to glass.
God, that was a customer care nightmare. The amount of people that were asking for...
Thought that'd bring back some good memories for you. And it was a rolling change too, so it was not consistent across the whole brand. It was, you didn't know what you were going to get, and each shipment that we would get would be mixed, and it would change back and forth. That was a blast.
Oh
nothing knock on Nathan, but that just goes, he's really aiming for value.
Very resourceful as well. Do you still have one of those bottles? I think you do. I think you kept one.
Probably. Yeah, I'm sure I do. But it's you can go in your medicine cabinet and grab any like white medicine bottle, and that's the bottle that it came in.
Yeah, it was like a Tylenol bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Some other new things that we've got, the Benu Briolette, one of the slightly smaller pens, faceted, this like very jewel looking pen. It's going to have 5 new colors coming out for that, all with an ombre glitter, most of them glow in the dark component to it. Benu, they're just unignorable. So there's going to be 5 new unignorable Briolettes that are going to be coming out fairly soon. I'm pretty excited about those. The Monteverde Regatta, which is, it's one of those love it or hate it kind of pens. It's not like many other pens, but they're going to have a mother of pearl in both white and a mother of pearl in black. I didn't even know legitimately that mother of pearl black was a thing, but it is. It comes from a different mollusk or something, a different shell, but it's legit. So it's got that same like iridescent kind of greenish reddish hint to it, but on like a black shell. It looks kind of cool in some of the pictures. I haven't seen it in person yet, but that's going to be coming pretty soon, right? Have you seen it in person, Drew?
I have. No, I haven't seen the black one. I saw the white one.
So the white one, but the white one looks good though, right? I mean, it's mother of pearl. That's going to look good.
Looks very good.
So that in black, it's going to look good. So that's kind of cool. I think those are going to be limited edition. Not 100% sure. I didn't pull all the facts on it, but that's coming out. And then also relatively soon, I'm not sure the exact date, but we should be restocking on our Sailor Stealth Green in Pro Gear, the full-size Pro Gear. So that is an exclusive pen of ours. We've had the slim because the big one sold out first. We ordered more of the big one. Thank goodness we were able to get more, and we should be getting that relatively soon. So it's not out quite yet. You haven't missed it, but if you want it, definitely jump on it because it might sell out quick again. I think it took 3 days last time. So it could take 6 months this time because everybody got it and they're like, yeah, this is old news now. Or it could be like, this is everything I wanted. I've been waiting for 5 months and it's snatched up in 3 hours. I don't know. Have no idea. But sign up for the email notification list on our product page for that so that you can be first in line. That's what I got.
That's right. We've
about you,
we've also got the Peniter Alchemist coming out soon. Now that is a interesting pen, to say the very least. Peniter's putting this out as their, I guess, they've had their ultra resin in the avatars and other things, but this resin is a zeolite resin, which is being touted as a very, very, I mean, it is a very, very unique material. So zeolite is a mineral formed when lava and water combined, and they're getting it from, you have to get it near a volcano. So this first color is called, Kilauea Blue, Kilauea, yeah, that's a volcano. And I'm going to just encourage anyone interested to go check out the product page, because there is a lot here. Just to give you a taste of it, zeolite properties are a cationic exchange capacity, reversible dehydration, and structural porosity. From zeolite comes a natural remedy to protect and detoxify our organs from toxins that invade our body daily, fight free radicals, expel heavy metals, and other harmful substances such as radionuclides, ammonium ions. Zeolite maintains health and it's a lot. So apparently zeolite is just a magical thing that you need to have in your life attached to a fountain pen. It's still a neat pen. It's got the beautiful quill nib that Peniter has on a lot of their nibs, so a lot of their pens. So check it out. It's an interesting material. It feels kind of like a soft rubber. It's a very soft grip. It's not hard or cold. It's supposed to be relatively porous and comfortable to hold for long periods of time. So it's definitely a new, interesting pen, and as far as I know, there's nothing else like it. So worth a look. Worth a look.
Good old Dante is always cooking up something new, huh?
He certainly is. No exception here.
I'm curious to see how it's always interesting when there's some material or something like that. It's not often you see like a completely new material come out in the pen world. I mean, I've never heard about this in any world, let alone the pen world. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how everybody receives it once they, I mean, we've touched it, we've seen it, we know a little bit about it. I don't understand any of the science behind it, but it seems cool. And, it's got, like you said, it's kind of got that like rubbery sort of feel to it. That kind of like hygroscopic kind of thing that like ebonite has, and like the, Visconti lava resin has, but it feels a little softer than both of those. So
it does.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So that'll be out. You can pick that one up, as well as the Visconti Homo sapiens lava color in blue ultramarine. So that is a new addition to an existing line. So Visconti decided to say, let's do some more lava pens, but put them out in color. So they've had a red, a kind of a sandyish brown, and a white available, and now there's a blue. So perhaps saving the best for last, though I'm not sure there will be, this may not be the last, but it is a good looking blue. It's got the magnetic closure like the other three did, so it's not identical to the lava Homo sapiens that's, the more iconic version, the black one. But it does have their new in-house nib. It's got the famous lava resin, but in blue. And the more I think of this, Brian, the more I'm like, imagine if at like the height of the legend of the Homo sapiens, like by now we've seen several different iterations and versions of the Homo sapiens. Imagine when there was just one, when there was just the Bronze Age Homo sapiens. Imagine getting a blue one in. Like now it's like, okay, cool. Well, there's a blue one. There was a red one. But like, I think about how big of a deal this would have been like 6 years ago, and blows my mind.
Yeah.
So if you want to get excited about it, just pretend that it was a while ago and this is the only other Homo sapiens, because inherently a blue Homo sapiens sounds pretty freaking awesome.
There's probably a lot of us who wouldn't mind going back 6 years ago. Depending on
because
our situations
that means 2020 is still ahead of you. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, but you don't know it yet. You're
gonna take the blue pill on that one.
Yeah.
Or the red pill. I don't know.
Let's see. Your Archer would have still been in diapers back then, right?
No, so thank you.
You would have been in the thick of it.
God, do not want. Anyway, that about does it for new stuff.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into the Q&A questions. We got some pretty solid ones. No deep dives this week. All right, no deep dives. So we'll be able to, answer things in a I don't know.
Don't make promises you can't keep, manner? Mr. Goulet.
Yeah, that's true. I can ramble on. I can deep dive about anything if I need to. but I'll try not to. You want to take the first one, Drew?
Sure. So Brett621 says, do snap caps, especially cheaper ones, wear out over time?
Ooh, interesting. I mean, yes, over time. Everything wears out over time, right? Like, it just happens, you know. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying here, Brett. I would say if you're specifically comparing a snap cap to maybe another capping mechanism, you know, for example, the screw type, like that's the screw threads. That's the, I guess, more traditional, more common, maybe fountain pen capping, whatever layout, configuration, whatever you want to call it, threading, what's the word?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're doing great.
I'm all thrown off because I'm looking at different things and I
keep on going, buddy.
am. Yeah, I'm really nailing it. So yeah, I would say that generally speaking, it's not going to have the same durability that a screw thread would. I think the screw thread is the tried and true traditional, you know, tested over time for decades and decades and decades, capping system for a fountain pen. Doesn't mean that a snap cap won't last that long. But I think a lot of it's going to depend on how the pen is treated, how it's carried around, how often you're using it. You know, a snap cap, the snapping is essentially there's some sort of pressure-based, friction-based configuration inside that cap. And when you are snapping it, you are adding pressure and then releasing that pressure very quickly. You know, you're overcoming some resistance and then it's letting go, but you're past that point of resistance and that's what's keeping the cap on. I'm explaining this in a super oversimplified way, but you know, theoretically over time, the pressure and the friction from snapping it like that may loosen that up a little bit. It's going to be a gradual thing over time. You know, it might be the kind of thing like it may have been okay to carry around in your pocket, but over time the pen might come uncapped a little bit every now and then in certain situations. So I think it's something just to kind of be aware of. I don't think that most, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I feel like snap caps are generally for lower priced pens. For lighter body, lower price pens, you know, think about like the Platinum Preppy and things like that. Pilot Explorer, you know, Pilot Kakuno, TWSBI Go, you know, these types of things. Well, like your Lamy, Safaris, All-Stars, these types of things. But then again, you got a snap cap on the Lamy 2000 and you've got, you know, like the magnetic. Well, the magnetic, I wouldn't really consider that a snap cap. That's kind of different, right?
Yeah, that's not gonna, you can't wear out a magnet really.
No, I mean, over time, a magnet will wear out. Once the Earth, like, you know, explodes or whatever, melts from the sun exploding, that magnet's not going to be good anymore. But yeah, generally speaking, I think what you're referring to is like the traditional, like, plasticky snap cap thing. So I think, yes, in general it will, but I don't know, maybe you feel differently, Drew. I don't feel like we hear about this happening a lot. Every now and then we definitely hear about it from some people, but it's not like it's such a frequent thing that it's really, really a problem.
No, this is my first fountain pen. This is the pen that I got when Brian was like, hey, I'll give you a fountain pen of your choice as long as it's reasonably priced. You work here now. You should write with a fountain pen. So I was like, okay.
It's blue. How
about this one? And so this is the first fountain pen I picked. It was with a 1.1 nib. So nice. I've been using this for over 10 years now, and I have other pens. This has not been an everyday pen for me, but it has gotten a lot of use. And the cap seems like it's the same as all of my other Lamy All-Stars. I would wager that if you decided to use a pen like this or any other, you know, more affordable snap cap fountain pen for a long enough time where you would even approach the possibility of having a cap wear out, something else in this pen is probably going to break before you cannot use the cap anymore. Like you've got nib issues, you'll
lose the pen altogether.
Yeah, you'll lose the pen. The feed will have an issue. You'll clean the thing and get the feed stuck in there, and then all game over, dude. But I think that it would take a really long time, and you'd have to make this thing a heavy-duty daily writer for it to wear out to the point where it just no longer caps. So yeah. I'd say something else would probably break before the cap would wear out.
Yeah, I think it's like something maybe to keep in mind, but not something that I would necessarily shy away from a pen just because of that. But maybe if you're like totally on the fence between two different pens and it's that aspect that may make the difference for you, maybe don't get the snap cap. But I'll also say, like, the convenience of a snap cap to me is worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth the risk.
One-handed.
Nice. All right. This next question is from Holly Basuik. Is it a crime? Is it a crime to buy two identical pens in different colors and mix and match pieces? Is it a crime?
No.
I mean, I don't know where anybody might be locally watching this. I'm not sure of the legal jurisdiction which you may currently reside, but I'm not aware currently of it being against any law to mix and match pieces of a pen. But if you're speaking metaphorically of a crime, no. I mean, I'm sure it is for some people, right? Like, just like some people, they couldn't imagine you writing with any color but black. And other people, they couldn't imagine you writing with any color that mismatches the pen that you're writing with. Everybody's going to have opinions, but I think it's do whatever the heck you want, you know? I think especially if you're talking pens where the pieces themselves are identical. Like, for example, you have a whatever All-Star like Drew has there. If you have a blue All-Star and you have a black All-Star, I don't know why he's blue and black, but say you want to mix the caps. You want to have one with a blue cap and a black body and one with a black cap and a blue body. Go for it. Just switch them and be on your way. Do whatever makes you happy. If you're talking about actually switching parts, like franken-penning something together that's not meant to be married together, then I wouldn't say it's a crime, but I would say you're taking the warranty into your own hands when you do that. If you're swapping nibs and, well, look at this, Drew.
I am now in love with my Neapolitan ice cream All-Star. Look at this. Look at the strawberry chocolate. That is magical. Okay, here. What about petrol and vibrant or the
what is that?
Purple?
Is that dark violet?
Dark violet. Not so much this
dark
one.
lilac. Dark lilac.
That one's okay. All right, what about blue and red? I say let's get this. Like, do this as much as you want because this is fun. I don't know if you remember, if you have one of the blue-green All-Stars and an orange All-Star, you can make a carrot pen.
Ooh.
Because it's orange on the bottom, green on top.
Nice.
It's a carrot pen. It's amazing.
That's
so
fun.
I am all for it. In fact, there are probably, oh my God, this though. Seriously. Can we just like they did that U.S. exclusive Safari? Can we do a Goulet exclusive brown and pink pen? Brian, come on now, look at this. This is magical.
I mean, if we buy enough of them, we can just make it happen.
I'll buy.
We wouldn't have their graces to do that, but we could, we could do it once.
but I would totally, yeah, absolutely go for it. In fact, there are some pens out there that I think work really well with this. The All-Star is definitely one of them. They look great. Yeah. The new Esterbrook JR in their Paradise series would work really great for those because they already have those two-tone finials, Brian. And so that is an ideal candidate. And then let's see what else we got here. I think that Kaweco Sports would be a perfect thing. So I think that would be great. Yeah, go nuts. In fact, if you have one that you've already done that with, because I know that we're not alone here. If anybody out there has done one that they really, really like or has any recommendations, something that might top the carrot pen, please let me know because I'm into this. I'm super into this.
The one that you did for me one time, Drew, was the Lamy 2000. You took what did you do? You took the grip from the regular Macrolon, the whatever that Lamy 2000. It's not Macrolon technically, the polycarbonate. There we go.
Yeah.
And you put that on was it on the metal body? I can't remember what you did. You did something where you mixed up a Lamy 2000 and it looked really sharp.
Oh,
do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was the stainless steel 2000. I
can't remember how you configured it. I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll try and post it if we can.
That was pretty sharp. I like that as sharp. Well.
Yeah, and I was like, I talked to our Lamy powers that be, and I was like, can we make this happen? I mean, it's totally not, I'm sure, but
I think it was
possible, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the I think that it had the stainless steel cap.
We'll have the picture and we'll post it, so we don't have to actually remember it. But
if you can find that.
Yeah, but I mean, by all means, if you want to mix and match your colors, like go for it. If you want a Franken pen and actually like jam parts together that are not necessarily meant to be together, it's not a crime. It's your pen. You own it. You can do whatever you want with it. But just realize you're taking the warranty into your own hands, and it helps to know what you're doing and just understand that risk if you're going to do it. But with great risk comes great reward. So you may find some configuration of something you absolutely
Fortune
love.
favors the bold.
That's indeed. Yes, indeed. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that.
All right. Next up. Ba-boom. All righty. Okay. Here we go. So here's an interesting one, Brian. Charpentier Jose says, how is your relationship with other pen retailers? Friendly or competitive?
This was the clickbait we had at the beginning of the intro here.
Yes.
Number 14 will shock you.
Oh man, so much drama.
Yeah. It was a total clickbait intro. There's really not much drama that happens behind the scenes. To
Quite
be honest
the
with
opposite.
you. Yeah, I mean, if you're into the fountain pen scene, you would know if there was drama, like, because you would see it happening. I mean, you go to almost any other industry and you see drama happening all over the place. In fact, there's many businesses, many industries where they just literally manufacture drama just to get people's attention. Think like actors and actresses and musicians and having like celebrity feuds and stuff like that. Most of that's completely fabricated. That's hyperbole. I don't know if that's actually true, but I believe it is. So I'm a big fan of the ideology of the rising tide raises all ships. So I think in a niche industry like fountain pens, basically anything that any retailer is doing to positively talk about, promote, share, inspire the use of fountain pens is going to help everybody in the fountain pen community. Because let's be honest, fountain pens specifically, but really all writing instruments pretty much fall into the place where you're more at risk of obscurity than you are like direct competition and being stomped out by some competitor. So really our biggest concern, I would say, is not so much what the other retailers are doing. It's more about just people stopping writing and not caring about fountain pens and not even being interested in them at all. So where I'm coming from is like, I don't really get jealous when I see other people sharing good stuff, or they have some cool new exclusive, or they put out a great video or whatever it is. I'm like, cool. I mean, a little bit of me is like, oh man, I had that idea and I wanted to do it and they did it first, and good for them. Like, good for them. They got to it first. Like they're, but I harbor no resentment of any kind, but it's really like, oh good. Like that information is now out there helping more people. They have a different audience. They have a different focus. They are going to reach people that maybe I wouldn't have reached. Great. Now that is going to, maybe inspire some people, bring more people into our little world. So I think that's mainly the overall theme in the fountain pen world. I would say there's probably some friendly competition for sure. We are making our livelihoods and supporting our families, by doing this. We commit the majority of our waking hours to this career, so me and our team, we're definitely invested in succeeding and doing well and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know that it ever really comes at the expense of anybody else. So there's not really that, let me grab that piece of the pie, or, somebody else is going to get it kind of mentality. That's not really what it's about. There might be some like frenemy type vibes that happen just from like, it's people, and you might get some clash of personalities. And especially I think like at pen shows, and Drew, you've been to a bunch of pen shows, when you are at a table and you're standing there all day and you're tired, and like you literally have customers going back and forth, like pitting you, price warring you against somebody else who's across the room.
Which we've never done, so we don't know for sure, but you can imagine.
Well, no, it 100% happens. I mean,
yeah.
I've observed it happening, you know what I mean? Not from selling myself, but well, actually that's not true. When we did the DC Pen Show in 2010, Rachel and I worked a table, and it was happening then. People would come and be like, so and so over there has it for X price, and you're like, well then friggin' walk over there and buy for that price, or okay fine, I'll match that price. And then it's like that happens enough back and forth, and you're like, all right, come on, So I could imagine like a little bit of that, but that's not like a deep rooted thing. That's just like an inconvenience or whatever. But I think there's a lot of lot of respect that people have for each other. In fact, what I found for myself, and probably for many others, I can't speak for other retailers where they're coming from. For me, there's that natural inclination of like, I don't know them. Yes, they're a competitor, so to speak. But like, if I don't know them at all, I'm a little, I don't know, call it leery or maybe apprehensive. I'm not going to like pour out my guts to them. But the more that I've found that basically no matter whose situation or what I may observe from afar, once I actually like get to know them, kind of get an introduction, even if it's just like over social media or something, I find that basically everybody that's in this industry is super passionate about what they do. Pretty much everybody either has some sort of like multi-generational family legacy, either on the manufacturing or retailing side, where it's like deep rooted into part of who they are and their family, or like us, we don't have that legacy part, but we have that newfound like passion and drive to grow and that newfound discovery. You're going to have like kind of one of those two that's going to happen in pretty much the entire industry through and through. And so that right there makes it to where everybody involved is really just, they love what they do. They're very passionate. They're really willing to help each other. I mean, Drew, we've had times where we've had some limited edition pen and it's, there's no more available to distributor. Some other retailer, has a customer who wants to buy one and they call us up and they're like, look, I can't get any more. If y'all don't have this one committed, can you sell it at cost to us and we'll sell it to this customer? We've done that before. We've had other times where we've had a big launch and we've been completely out of converters for the pen that is, and we'll reach out to another retailer, who maybe has overstock, so that stuff doesn't happen super often, but it's happened enough times where it's not completely unusual. Or we might warn each other about like some scam ring that's happening or some person that's trying to, get a bunch of high-end pens or something like that, or somebody steals. Oh, this happens. I know you, Drew, when like people have like gotten something stolen at a pen show and everybody's like sharing it on their Instagram, trying to just get the word out. Like that kind of stuff doesn't really happen in most other industries. That's really a close-knit thing. It's just makes it, it's just such a special place, this little fountain pen community that we have, even like through the supply chain side, like where there's money involved and you would think that maybe things are a little more businessy and cutthroat and all that. It's really not that dramatic. Everybody's quite friendly. And, I think you can feel pretty good knowing that when you're supporting, with financially supporting people in the fountain pen, industry, you're supporting just a lot of really good, passionate people, just kind of as a whole. I can't necessarily speak for everybody, but it's pretty much my experience. That's definitely more the norm.
Absolutely. And every time I have had the opportunity to meet a retailer face-to-face at a pen show or someplace, it has been a true delight, just a delight. And in the same way that if you go to a pen show and you finally meet, like let's say that you've been using fountain pens for years and you finally get to meet somebody who also has been using fountain pens for years and it's your first time, you're like, oh my gosh, you love fountain pens too. It's the same thing. When you meet another person that sells fountain pens for a living, you instantly have a crazy, unique thing in common. Like it's one thing to both like fountain pens. It's a completely other thing to say, you and I both work for a fountain pen store. Like right. Seriously, how many people in the world could say that? Like, so when you connect with somebody else that has that in common at a pen show, it's like, it's really amazing because like Brian said, everybody's so passionate about it. And it's just a really, really awesome, really unique, really rare connection to make with somebody. And it's just that, connections is one of the things that makes the fountain pen community so magical and wonderful and delightful.
I couldn't agree with you more. Awesome. All right.
Very cool.
Next lesson we have is from Planners and Fountain
Pens.
Planners and Fountain Pens. Got cut off. Halloween, not general fall, pen and ink color recommendations, ?
I like this one. And so first off, we did just release a beautiful, beautiful spread of imagery that includes fall favorites. So if you are in the mood for fall sort of products, we do have that available for you on our website. It's on the front page now if you want to go check that out. But for Halloween specifically, we want to go with a little bit more of a spooky vibe, less of a seasonal, cozy, pumpkin spice-esque vibe. So, obviously, the low-hanging fruit would be to pair something black with something orange. And if you wanted to go with the orange arrow, the one that Brian used last time, the Diplomat arrow, that one does have a black that's a lighter black or a darker gray grip section, but it is orange and black, so that's a good option. Also in that same vein, if you can get your hands on it, the Diplomat Elox is a beautiful black and orange pen. A little rare because it's been popular than most people thought it would be, but if you can get your hands on that, that's a great pick as well. In the newer Benus, the Talisman model has a variation colorway called Foxglove, which is orange and black, and that one is a stunner. That is one of the best of the bunch. That one and the Dragon's Blood one are really, really awesome, but I think Foxglove's the best. That would be a perfect Halloween pen. And or you could just kind of go with a black pen, matte black vanishing point, something kind of sleek and dark with a spooky ink. I thought of a couple. One of my favorites that doesn't get a lot of press is Noodler's Nightshade. It's a deep, dark, reddish burgundy with a pretty cool name. Definitely some Halloween vibes there. I think it's a really great ink. It's fun to write with as well. Or you could go with something like more spectral, like ghost-like. And I think that my two favorite Sailor Ink Studio inks, Thunder Fluff and Rain Fluff, are good options because they have that really cool kind of halo situation going on where they go on this gray purple and then they have this kind of funky greenish highlight. It's kind of spooky, kind of ghost-like, right? Now, some people might call them Ink Studio 123 and 224, but being as 123 is a little bit lighter, that's Rain Fluff, and 224 is a little bit darker, Thunder Fluff.
These are unofficial names, of course, that Drew's come up with.
So far, they're unofficial, Brian.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if Sailor adopts them, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Nightshade, that sounds like some sort of like Marvel superhero supervillain. Is there a Nightshade?
Probably.
That's gotta be. There's gotta be. There's like thousands of wacky superhero villain types, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if there's Polka Dot Man and Calendar Man, there's probably a Nightshade.
Calendar Man?
Calendar Man, yeah, he's a serial killer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
He's from Batman. He's got the months of the year tattooed on around his scalp.
Wow, that's oddly specific.
He's serious business, man. Don't want to mess with him.
Wow. Okay.
He's creepy.
I feel like it sounds like a Mad Lib where you're just like something man and you're just like making up random words.
Calendar. Oh, there are some. I mean, DC has been making comics since like the 30s. So
the
late 30s. So yeah, you can get some wacky villains for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, these are great suggestions, Drew. I have some different ones to kind of throw in the mix. Well, the most obvious one is you can just go with almost any Rhodia pad because orange and black is their color scheme and has been since the 30s, I think. So yeah, basically any Rhodia pad would do if you're going for a paper thing. I think the Diplomat Magnum Orange Demo, which I happen to have right here, actually, that's got a nice kind of pure orange vibe. I think that could work. Put some black ink in there. Very much a Halloween pen. Or you could mix and match it. If you had a black, Magnum, you could swap the parts if you don't, if you aren't afraid of getting arrested. But the Conklin Durograph in Amber, that's just a great looking pen anyway, but it's very much like a translucent orange with some black kind of threads throughout it. That's our most popular Durograph, like regularly offered Durograph color. Also, some good ink colors. You got me thinking, Drew. Diamine Oxblood, obviously. That one's kind of a given. Diamine Rider's Blood, too, could kind of fit in there. And Diamine Pumpkin. I mean, that's just a great fall color anyway. It's one of my favorite oranges, actually. Just a great color. Does get some crustification on it from time to time, but that's okay. You just wipe it off and it doesn't hurt anything. And then I was like, isn't there an Edgar Allan Poe ink? And yes, there is from Diatramenis, but it's green. So I don't know, like pumpkin stem, maybe? It doesn't maybe really fit with the Halloween vibe, but certainly Edgar Allan Poe, like, could be thought of, but maybe you can just keep the bottle out on your desk and you can look at Poe's face and maybe just not write with the ink because then it would be green and that doesn't really scream Halloween to me. But still.
I think Poe would be good if you're feeling kind of a spooky Halloween vibe, but it's not yet Halloween. You can always rely on Mr. Poe to give you some.
He'll get you there. He'll darken you up.
Yeah, add some melancholy to your writing.
Absolutely. If you're feeling good at all, just get some Poe in there and he'll sink you right down. Sink you right down to the bottom. All right, Drew, Last question here. What do you got?
All right, so RMCL_ says, what is your favorite nib design? Scroll work. Any pet peeves in this regard?
Scroll work pet peeves.
Yeah, what's your favorite nib design, Brian? Let's start off with that.
I mean, I think all nibs are beautiful.
Oh God.
No, I mean,
Everything will fall apart over time.
I mean, give it enough time. But no, I mean, I have some that, I don't have any that I'm like infatuated with, but I certainly have some that I'm like, oh yeah, this really stands out. I definitely love the Namiki Maki, well, not Maki necessarily, but they're limited edition nibs that they have that's got the Mount Fuji design on it. I really like that. It's most of them are two-tone, not necessarily all of them. Especially on the bigger ones, like if you have it like the Yukari Royale. But even on the Yukari, it looks pretty good. Just that Mount Fuji on there, it's just because of the symbology and what it means and all that. And I had the great fortune of actually getting to see Mount Fuji in real life. And it's definitely like, I get it. Like it's no wonder they consider it a holy mountain. It is like just very, very present in Japan, and just,
those nibs have a really
cool
little breather hole too. It's kind of like a vertical squared circle. It's not a perfect circle. It's kind of like a little longer.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So those ones are really cool. The Pelican M1000 nib is pretty great. It's got that pelican bird on it, of course, but then just the scroll pattern on, and because that nib in particular is just so big, I feel like the detail really stands out and it just looks really crisp. So that one is quite luscious.
Those big nibs are just such a great canvas for the imprint.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I guess pet peeves, I don't know, like nothing crazy, but you know how sometimes if you have a two-tone nib, because of the way that they have to make the two-tone, you basically have to take the nib, plate it, and then, you're like taping off the parts that you don't want to plate. It's a lot of handwork to do a two-tone nib, which is actually why you don't see quite so many of them anymore. It's kind of it's becoming more of a lost art. But I'm not a big fan of the two-tone nib where like the tape wasn't like spot on and the gold will kind of like spill over across the like indent, and it's like you can tell it's sort of like you colored outside the lines a little bit. There may be varying degrees of what would be considered a defect in there, and usually it's pretty particular because we're looking at these things often pretty closely, but so that I'm not like super in love with, but I mean it doesn't like ruin the pen experience for me. I'm just like, oh no, okay. And then I have another one that was, I don't want to steal your thunder because you wrote something and I was going to react to it. So I'll hold my thoughts on my last bullet point and let you go on about yours because I want to see where you're going to take it.
The first one that comes to mind is the Pineider Quill nib. I love the imprint on that. They don't waste any space on that nib. It's got, I like to have an outline, like some sort of a border to kind of contain whatever you put in the middle. So I do like borders. And then, obviously some stuff in the middle. But the Pineider Quill nib, I think, is a beautiful, beautiful nib. Not just because of the imprint. I admit that there is the sleekness and how narrow it is. I really, really like that. So it's a combination of the imprint and how narrow it is. The Diplomat two-tone nib, but like you said, it's getting more rare. Like, honestly, I think we might even have one pen that has the gold Diplomat two-tone nib on it. But that looks really nice. And then, of course, the TWSBI VAC 700R Iris, the one where they did that rainbow thing on just the top of the nib. There have been pens that have like the whole nib rainbow, but I love the fact that TWSBI just did it on the top there. And TWSBI actually has a pretty good imprint too. That one I really, really love. I was really psyched when I finally got my hands on an Iris. I hope they do that nib, on some other models in the future. That would be really, really exciting for me.
Yeah.
As far as pet peeves go, I do like symmetry. Like I said, I like the border, so I would like the nib to have a border along the edge and then stuff in the middle. If it has no border and then just stuff in the middle, it's okay if it's like one precise boop logo, like the Edison or the Goulet thing in the middle. That's fine. But if it's like three things and they're not symmetrical or centered and there's no border, then that's just chaos, and I will not abide by that. That is upsetting, and And no, thank you. No, I
Or
will.
like the Noodlers nibs, where it's like just the Noodlers is like written.
Oh no!
Like
Don't talk to me.
long ways on one of the
Oh
times.
God, no! Stop it! I forgot about that one. No. I do love the Noodlers nibs. They're fun. They're resilient. I can abuse them and they go right back. But yeah, that imprint is upsetting.
You're not buying it for the scroll work on the
No,
nib.
absolutely not. A Noodler's pin is a utility for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like buying a paintbrush. You don't need a pretty paintbrush.
Yeah.
But I need some symmetry. I need it to.
Okay, so what about like the M1000? Like, I mean, I guess there's symmetry there except for the logo, which if you're okay with like a centered logo on the nib,
Yeah,
you're okay
but
with that.
if
without
you
that
have like a
symmetry.
pattern on your nib, like I've seen like snowflakes on a nib before, like boop 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 boop, and no border. I'm like, no, you stop that. That is chaos and madness. And
You have such oddly specific taste sometimes. Yeah, see, I'm not really bothered by that, I guess.
well, I only get bothered by stupid, pointless, inconsequential things in my life.
That's true. That's true.
The world could be burning. I'm like, all right, well, there's nothing we can do about that. But yet you mess with my nib symmetry, then I'm gonna.
That's right. That's
need
when
to
you'll
talk to a
start.
therapist.
That's when you'll start commenting on every single video of somebody talking about how it's a bunch of nonsense.
It's fake. Disingenuous.
Wow. Yep. Yeah, I don't really need the symmetry. Okay, so how do you feel about the like the Namiki, the Mount Fuji? Because that's not symmetrical. The mountain.
It is in a way.
No.
You have one continuous. The mountain goes off both sides, and I appreciate that.
It's. I mean, yeah, okay. It's not like wildly, asymmetric, but it's not symmetrical. It's not symmetrical. Or how do you feel about like an anniversary nib, like the Pilot 100th anniversary, where it's like a 100 on the nib? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's not gonna be my favorite.
Okay.
Not gonna be my favorite.
Fair enough. Because a bunch of companies have done that. Like I know Mont Blanc is kind of famous for that. They do a lot of years on a lot of their.
I own the 90th anniversary 149 by Mont Blanc.
Oh well, look at you then. Aren't you special.
I do like that nib. I do like that nib.
Yeah, I bet you would.
What does that mean?
Fake.
I just don't want. I know I'm a total poser. I just don't want like a scattered design. I guess I want it to be. I don't know. I know it when I don't like it.
Fair enough.
That's for sure.
Can't blame me for that, I guess. Or I can. Whatever. It's fine. All right, cool. Well, thanks for the Q&A there. Thank you, everybody, for writing the questions in. Next segment we have is hypothetical. Drew, do you have a hypothetical? Because I did not touch base with you on this one.
I do. I definitely do. And I actually have two, and I'm a little bothered that I don't know which one to pick. So I'm just going to pick one. We'll save the next one for next week.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, you've been spending some time at home recently, haven't you?
I'm familiar with my home, yes. No stranger to it at this point.
Especially in the last 2 years. You've been somewhat on house arrest thanks to this pandemic. So I wanted to know.
It's because I swapped the parts of my pens. I got put on house arrest.
Oh yeah, that's illegal.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a would you rather, Brian.
Okay.
Would you rather have your house and your immediate property, including your yard and your driveway, always neat, clean, pristine, full of debris, perfect? Or, so this includes no trees falling in your driveway, your grass is always cut, your weeds are always gone, mulch
you're talking like the outside property, not like
and
inside
inside. Carpet's always clean. Nothing will stain your carpet. Nothing will scuff your hardwood.
That's pretty compelling.
The mulch around the kids' play area is always fresh and clean and nice.
All right, you're gonna have to have something really great for the next part of this because this is all sounding pretty good.
Okay, here's the next part. Your house, the actual the appliances and the core important elements of your house are invincible and unbreakable, meaning your appliances last forever. No plumbing ever fails, ever leaks.
Ooh.
You never lose power. Your roof is impenetrable. Like no natural weather-related events will have any adverse effects on your home's physical nature at all. Your HVAC system will always work flawless, perfectly pumping out the hot, the cool air wherever you want it. Essentially the kind of the core functioning elements of your home are invincible and would never need to be replaced or upkept in any way.
So basically, would I rather be responsible for caring for
It's basically
the maintenance, like superficial aspects of the cleanliness of the home, or like the guts of the home, like the big stuff? Oh boy, that's tough. That's tough. I really don't love the like sweeping, vacuuming, just like the regular stuff, you know, getting the crumbs off the counter and all that mess. That's really annoying to me. I kind of like working on the big projects though. Like I kind of don't hate it when trees fall down because I get to throw in my chaps and grab my chainsaw and go play lumberjack for a bit. So I really don't hate that.
But you do spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, I do, but...
So if you added up all your time a year, you're out there doing mulch and cutting the grass and stuff like that. Like that's...
See, I would argue that I spend more of my total time inside the house, like picking up crap and sweeping and all that mess. Like just because, well, I'm kind of messy and I have 2 kids that are also kind of messy. So kind of picking up a lot around the house.
All right.
I think I would...
You're choosing to have invincible core functionality?
No, I think I would go the opposite. I would have all the superficial kind of maintenance stuff taken care of.
But that includes the outside stuff.
Oh, see, I like doing that stuff though.
No, it's one or the other.
I like doing it when I want to do it. So I would have that taken care of as a baseline, and then just do like new projects. Like if I want to do like a paver patio, like I would want to put that in myself because I think that would be fun, and I would get to buy tools.
Yeah, and I know you have trails in the woods as well. Those would always be maintained. You wouldn't need to get out there and get poison ivy everywhere.
Yeah. See, I like cutting the trails, but like maintaining.
No more yellow jackets, poison oak.
Ooh, if I could just not have yellow jackets, like, can we just change this to that? Take all of that other stuff and then just like not have yellow jackets and poison ivy. I would choose that, and I would take care of everything else. Yeah, because that's kind of annoying.
So you're going superficial, and you're still going to need to handle...
I would go superficial, and I would handle all the big stuff. Okay. Assuming that like it doesn't mean the house is like crappy and going to fall apart. Like assuming the house is what it is.
Regular house. You know, your washer and dryer is going to last, you know, like 12 years max.
Yeah, I can replace a washer and dryer and a hot water heater and stuff every decade.
But and
then not have to vacuum my house like ever again. Yes, please.
Right, but you're also leaving yourself vulnerable to like a total like plumbing disaster or like, you know, water collection or some foundation issue.
Well, right now my house inside is an absolute disaster guaranteed. So yeah, I would take the risk. I would choose the superficial stuff. And
awesome.
I'd take care of the guts. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I like projects. I like project work. I'm not big on maintenance work. I like big projects I can wrap my head around and take a half day or a day on the weekend and just get all into it. You get the tools out, you know, you're in that mode, you know, you're like working on stuff and everybody's interrupting you and you get to be all upset and you're like the dad in A Christmas Story where you're like, you know, I dig that. I like doing that.
All right. Very good. I would pick the opposite.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Then we should move in together, Drew, and neither of us would have to do anything.
I've had so many appliance issues, and my crawl space needs to be re-insulated, and oh my god,
yeah, that's no fun.
Give me a vacuum over a crawl space any day, please. Oh my god, no.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't like cleaning gutters. Oh god, no.
Yeah.
I hate cutting grass. None of that. No. Keep me inside. Just keep me inside.
You just really don't want to be outside. That's basically all it is.
I mean, there's that too. But all right, cool. Well, there you go. Well, I've got one ready for next week as well.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
So what about you? Invincible house at its core function or aesthetically pleasing at all times?
There you go. Let us know in the comments. All right, Drew, we've been carrying around a pen for the last week, a little less than a week maybe. Pilot Explorer. So we each chose a different Explorer. You have one version, I have another. I have the older one, I have the original. I have the turquoise, which is it's a plastic pen, but it's got like a metallic looking finish to it. You have the clear Explorer, which is new. What do you think, Drew, after you've been carrying this thing around?
Well, I've got a bit of a bombshell to drop on you, Brian.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
So the first thing I did, I was like, you know what? Let me choose which pen I'm going to take. Let me choose the clear so that I can eyedropper it.
Okay.
Because Brian told me that I could.
Uh-oh. Did I lead you astray?
Yes,
Oh,
you
no.
did, Brian.
Oh, no.
It poured all out the back of this pen.
Oh, my gosh.
All midway blue, all over my desk, all over
Oh,
my hands.
geez.
It was chaos.
Whoops.
So don't eyedropper this pen.
I guess we learned something.
I think that sometimes it can work and sometimes it doesn't. So
Yeah,
apparently
or I wonder
Brian
if,
got...
like, I don't know. Maybe, either I tested it and it worked fine and that was a fluke, or maybe they changed the design on the new ones or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's got this black plug, stuff just comes right out of there. So
Oh,
I was thinking,
gosh.
hey, this could be a cool pen to eyedropper. But
Whoops.
don't do it. So
don't do that. Don't do that.
so that was funny. All as well.
Dang it. I wish I'd seen that. That would have been so good.
Oh, I recorded it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I have a video.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. I'll maybe put it up on the
We
on
can
the Pencast.
insert it. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a steady drip.
Wow.
So I opted for, because I knew the big homie Brian Goulet was going to go with the Con 70, so I was like, let me go with the included Con B converter.
There you go.
So
It's a good
this
one.
converter,
I like that little Con B. It's like a little sleeper.
yeah, it worked just fine. Now, as much as I don't want to give the Con 70 credit, I will say the Con B in this lovely demonstrator is ugly. It's an ugly converter. No, it's an ugly converter. It's just like a rubber sack. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
I'm a little offended by it. So, yeah, I did put a Con 70 in here, and not only is it more attractive, but the Explorer is a lighter weight pen, especially compared to the Metro, which it's going to get compared to the Metro. It's right in that same price range. The Metro is super popular. This pen, by comparison, feels plasticky because it's plastic, and the Metro is aluminum. It's brass. But if you put the Con 70 in there, it does have this metal back part to it, so it kind of gives you a nicer
little bit of
balance. It does. So, yeah.
So what you're saying is that the Con 70 is a superior filling mechanism then.
I didn't say filling mechanism, because filling it is still not ideal, but you're comparing it to this rubbery monstrosity or the ineffectiveness that is the Con 40. So, yes, between the two of those, it is...
Or you could refill a cartridge with an ink syringe. That's another option.
Which is another option, but the clarity on those is all kind of cloudy. It's not pretty.
They're not the most attractive looking.
No, so if you're
either.
going to go with a clear like I did, the Con 70 is the way I would choose to go.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, the actual pen wrote fantastic. I inked it up with Thunder Fluff, Sailor Ink Studio 224. So
nice. What nib size did you have on this thing?
This is a fine.
Ooh, I had a medium, so we'll get to talk about that.
I did post it most of the time, unless I was like just taking a note. I literally kept it in my other hand while I jotted. It did stay posted the entire time. And again, as a lighter weight pen, I appreciate that back weight. I think that it just makes the pen feel a little bit more comfortable in my hand. If you're not a big fan of the really, really lightweight pens, which this helps a lot. Yeah. So I really love the clarity on the clear, on the demonstrator version of this. I think it is beautiful as far as the clarity goes. The cap sensation is magnificent. It pops just the way you would expect a Metro or any other. They've really got the capping nailed down in this price range for the amount of money that you're spending. Really nice capping. It didn't dry out at all. The clip is nice. It's pretty rigid, but it is metal, so it does hold up really, really well. And I've got no complaints. It writes just like a Metro or a Kakuno or any of the other ones. You're dealing with the same sort of, the same performers, the nib and the feed of all the other pens. So the writing experience was not new or surprising to me, but the form factor I found I actually really, really liked. And I will say that while the Metro is super popular, if you gave me a choice between which pen to choose, the Explorer or the Metro, I'm choosing the Explorer.
Really?
Because of the comfort. The Metro, because it's metal, in my hand, I feel like it's cold and hard, and I just don't find it to be comfortable. The plastic, I feel like, is more warm. It's more comfortable resting against my palm. I just prefer to feel this pen in my hand rather than the Metro, just because I know it's plastic, it's not soft, but to me it just feels a little more comfortable because it is plastic. And I think that, I guess maybe air travels through it faster, so it's not as cold and kind of, I don't know. The Metro is just a little less cozy to me than this. So I do prefer it.
Fair enough. Do you feel like this is going to be obviously it's not going to be as durable as the Metro because it's plastic instead of metal. But to me, this feels like a pretty thick plastic. It doesn't feel like something that, like when I'm carrying a Preppy around in my pocket or something, I feel like, if I sit down wrong, it's going to snap this thing in half.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that with this pen. It feels very solid to me.
It really is. And it is a very, very thick plastic. Like, I'm squeezing the cap as hard as I can, and it's barely even bending. It does have a really big inner cap too.
Yeah, and
So-
I can't really, because usually you can take the barrel and you can like kind of bend it and deform it, and it'll bend back. But like this one is like it's pretty dang rigid. I don't know what kind of plastic this is. It's not the same plastic as like what you have on the grip or anything. I don't know what it is, but it's some kind of super rigid plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I dig it too. The thing I like about this is it's a snap cap, just like the Metro, to go with that comparison. But the step is not real harsh. And I don't know, it's kind of cool. So I guess just the way design-wise that they did it, the cap is a little thicker. And this is something whenever you have a snap cap that's always interesting, because usually snap cap mechanisms, you're not going to have a cap that's way bigger than the body, right? You're going to have something that's fairly close to it. Part of the reason you have such bigger caps on screw thread, pens is that you need to make room for all those threads, and you have the center band to reinforce that and all that kind of stuff. So you end up usually with a cap, think about like, Sailor, like the 1911 or the Pro Gear, you're going to get a big difference in this diameter of the cap than you will with the body. Well, with a lot of snap cap pens, you generally don't have as much of a difference. In fact, a lot of times you can have them flush. Think about like the Diplomat Aero, like we've talked about a bunch today. That's kind of the case with this one. So I really like the fact that there's a very, very just gentle step here. It doesn't really get in the way, because me personally, I tend to hold my pens back a little bit further maybe, or I hold like two of my fingers kind of forward and my thumb usually sits back a little bit. I don't like really go close up like some people do, like on the grip of the pen. I'm very relaxed. I hold it back. I hold a pretty low angle, so my thumb is usually way back. Oftentimes my thumb will rest right on the transition of the grip and the body of the pen, so I'm usually kind of aware of how that feels. This one was really solid for me though.
I actually also wrote really far back on this pen.
You held it way back? Maybe
my thumb is right on the threads, like the inner threads that you can't touch. Like, I'm all the way up there. I don't know why.
Interesting. Is it because like this? To me, the body of this pen feels long. I guess we could look at the dimensions and see if it's longer than average. But to me, it feels like it's got a good length to it. Like, I don't have to post this thing, and there's plenty of length in here, and I have big hands. Obviously I can post it, and then it's, you got plenty of length to go with. But anyway, yeah, I found the same thing. I held it further back a little bit.
Another thing that I like in comparison to the Metro versus the Explorer is that the color variety, I think, is better on the Explorer. The Metro has the retro pop collection with, some funky patterns and stuff. The Metropolitan does not have a blue pen, Brian. There's no blue Metro.
It's travesty.
Right?
I'm kind of ashamed, frankly.
So, yeah, that shocks me sometimes that it's as popular as it is. So if you want a blue pen, you got to go with the Explorer.
Yeah. Maybe and of course you got just like the metal versus the, maybe it's like the lacquers they have to use, or just the method of whatever powder coating. I don't know exactly how they finish those Metros, but whatever coating system they use, maybe they're limited on color options or something. I don't know.
No excuse for that.
I mean, I'm kind of with you.
Come on now. If you can make a purple or a red, you can make a blue.
They made a friggin' snake print one. Like, come on.
Right.
Do blue.
Come now.
It's interesting. You commented that this is a metal clip. That actually, I did not even realize it was metal until you pointed
it's sharp.
it out.
You get your fingers under there, it's like, ow!
Yeah, I didn't even realize that because it's like I mean, it's shiny, but it's almost like a matte shiny. If that's
It looks plastic. Yeah, the top of it looks plastic.
Yeah, like, so in that respect, like the plastic on this pen kind of looks metal. The metal kind of looks plastic. They did a really good melding of the two different materials, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I dig that. The clip was very functional. I was able to clip it in my pocket and stuff like that. The one thing that I had happening on mine, again, I use the Con 70. I, interestingly enough, did not fill it very much. I just did like a couple of little pumps just to get some ink in there. Partly my motivation was laziness, because I'm just not writing like a full Con 70's worth in the week that we're doing these tests. And we've talked many times in the Pencast about my, procrastination of cleaning pens until they are like in desperate need of crustaceans like forming on them. And so I didn't fill it very much. And I noticed I had a lot of ink that was like coming onto the nib and coming into my cap. I was carrying it in my pocket, so it's very close to my extremely warm body. Now, I got to tell you this story, Drew. This is not related to pens, but it's kind of gross, and it tells you something about me.
Please go on this not related gross story about you.
Yeah, so maybe some of you all can relate to this, but probably not. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, everybody can probably relate. Oh, you can't? No, I'm just kind of a freak. Okay. So this is not specifically related to the pen, but it's related to my body heat in my pockets. So, me, I love me some cargo pockets, right? So oft.
It is known.
Oft when I'm working outside, out and about my property. Literally just last night I was doing that. And, I will often wear pants because when I'm working in the woods, I'm very allergic to poison ivy and urushiol, anything with that, poison ivy, oak, sumac, all that stuff. So I pretty much any times I'm in the woods doing landscaping any kind, I'm like full on pants, long sleeves, like Drew style. Except I'm not like Drew. I do not find that comfortable. I sweat like... It looks like I jumped in a swimming pool, after 10 minutes, and it's pretty disgusting. So I don't know if you ever had a Drew where you've been like sweating or working out or whatever, kayaking, something like that. Your body is wet of some kind, and like your phone, you know how like if your phone gets wet or if like your fingers are wet or whatever, like the way that these phone screens work is it's all electrostatic, right? So it's like your finger, it's the electricity in your finger. Well, sometimes if you have moisture, like if your clothes are wet or something like that, you're like random like buttons can get activated on the screen of your phone. Have you ever had that happen without you actually touching it? So I have this happen to me all the time. And it's because I sweat so much. So I'm not joking. I cannot have my phone in my pocket with the screen facing towards my body because my leg, when it's sweaty, will actually activate the screen and it'll take pictures, it'll make phone calls, all kinds of stuff like that. So I have to intentionally turn my phone. Wow, look at that. My phone actually, I have sweat on my phone screen right now. Here, I'll show you, Drew, on there.
Thank you
I have sweat
so much.
on my phone screen just having pulled it out of my pocket. So, and I'm just sitting here in air conditioning. Anyway, this is such a thing. So I have to intentionally turn my phone so that the screen is facing away from my body. Well, what I noticed was happening, I was looking through my like camera roll and I had all these pictures, just really weird looking obscure pictures. I'll try and just show you some of what they look like.
Of the inside of your pocket?
Yeah, just like pictures and pictures of the inside of my pocket.
Oh my
because
God.
It like went into burst mode and it was taking pictures inside my pocket with the screen facing away from me. I sweat through my pants so much. I sweat through to the outside of the pocket that was then activating the screen of the phone.
Oh my God.
How weird and how gross is that? This is my life, folks. So when I carry a pen around and I'm noticing like burping issues and stuff like that, I know that my body is going to be a more extreme test for that. I just spit a little bit. I know that I'm getting very passionate about this, apparently. I know that my body is going to be a more extreme test of that. So all that to say, I did get some ink inside the cap. This is the first time I've had this happen with the Explorer. I haven't really carried it around on me in the heat of summer. Technically, today's the first day of fall as we're filming this, but whatever. It's still hot. I had very little ink, a lot of extra airspace in here, so I definitely got some burping. I don't think that's necessarily always going to be the case, but it certainly can happen, and it certainly did with me.
Good thing you didn't have an eyedroppered half-full Collier.
Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of eyedroppering my own pens, kind of for that reason. Certainly not with anything I carry around on my body. I'll eyedropper a pen and I'll leave it on the desk. That's not a problem. But anyway, so the thing I will say though, it wrote fantastic. Like it's just such a good writing pen. Like for the price, it's just, I can't get over it. I use the medium nib, so smooth. And the medium nib is not like this big fat gushing medium. It's a consistent, smooth, very responsive medium nib. Just, man, Pilot with these steel nibs, they just friggin' nailed it. They're fantastic. The thing that I also really liked about this pen, so when I first used it up, Drew, it was inked up. I don't know what was in it, but it was something like an archaeologist would find. It was in there from a long time ago, probably 2 years old. And because I guess I had forgotten that I'd inked it up, and there was already a Con 70 in here too. So that's whatever I used last time. That's what it was. So I had to clean it out first before I used it. But what was so great, you complain about like having to clean out the Con 70. But what was so great is I was able to pull it out. I could just pull the nib and the feed straight out because they're just friction fit in there. Just ran it under the tap, used a little toothbrush that I keep there basically for like pen cleaning. And it cleaned up in like 5 seconds. It was so easy to clean out because the whole thing just like comes right apart, puts back together. The nib has these like wings that sit into the feed. It can go back in any orientation. It's one of the easiest pens to take apart and reassemble. So easy to clean this thing out, even if it's all dried out. Now, the thing I will say, Drew, so this is the newer Con 70 that I have. I don't know about the old ones, but whatever. They're dead to us because they don't exist anymore. But the new ones, so I, again, dried ink in here. So it's going to stress test any type of cleaning, right? Whenever you have a pen and it's dried in there, you know you have to like flush and flush and flush. And you have that little bit of ink in there. You're like, it just won't get clear. You have to flush it a million times. So I was getting that with the Con 70. I was using an ink syringe and I was just flushing and flushing and flushing. Well, you know what I discovered, Drew? The little metal rod in the Con 70, it's hollow.
Yeah,
it's a little tube.
And I mentioned that.
What I found is that I had some ink that was in that little tube. And if I took the ink syringe and I put it like on the end of that tube, it's almost the exact same size as the needle for our ink syringe, and I flushed the syringe into the tube of the Con 70, it would flow through the tube and back out, and it cleaned it so much faster.
I said that to you episodes ago, and you said, whatever, if that makes you feel better, go right ahead, because I had heard that from Penboy Roy. He does that, and he swore by it, so I tried it, and I'm like, I think this is working.
Well, I say this because, first of all, I forgot that you told me that. Second of all, it was like a real-world experience of dried, crusty ink, like doing that. So I could see where like that might feel unnecessary with ink that is nice and fresh and it'll just flow right out of there. But I think I had some like built up crud in there, and it really made it. I still had to flush it like 10 times through that little tube to really clean it out. But that was kind of my own doing. But anyway, so it was a total of maybe 5 minutes.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like you match up the pipe on the syringe to the pipe in the converter, and boom, magic cleaning power.
It really worked. It really worked. So props to Roy. Props to you. Not props to me for getting it all together, but then props to me for discovering it on my own separately after I'd forgotten about it, and then now we're talking about it again. So I don't know.
Yeah, Mark Bacchus calls it when the feed and the nib kind of like mate together intentionally like that. He calls it a keyed feed and nib. So
there you go.
Keyed to each other.
Yeah.
So I use that term now after he mentioned that to me. One thing I'll also say, when I was selecting an ink for my Pilot. Since this is a Japanese fine, I went with Thunder Fluff because Thunder Fluff is a little bit darker than Rain Fluff. But if you have a medium or broad nib, I recommend Rain Fluff because it does have, I think, a funner, more what do you call it? Chromatic sort of situation going on. But yeah,
cool.
Multitonal, whatever you want to say.
The ink that I was using was Monteverde DC Super Show Teal, which is also a very wet ink. So that may have contributed to the ink coming out into my cap and onto my nib a little bit too.
Potentially.
Yeah. Great color though. Very saturated. Lots of shading. I do like it. I hadn't used it in a while, so I was like, yeah, you know what? Let me do that. Cool. All right, well, that was fun. So for next week, Drew, what pen should we pick?
Well, Brian, you mentioned earlier in the episode that the Monteverde Regatta is a love it or hate it sort of pen. And I will say that while I'm glad we have it, while I'm glad we sell it, I kind of don't like it. But also, we've had it for a really long time, and I've never really given it a chance.
Okay.
So what do you say about giving the Regatta a chance?
I mean, I like the Regatta, so I don't need to give it a chance because I know I like it, but I'm happy to use it with you and we can talk about it.
Let's do that because I feel like, I mean, it stood the test of time. When we first got Monteverde, I'm sure you remember, we got the Invincia and we're like, oh, the Invincia, that's a nice pen. That's going to be the flagship of Monteverde. And now, fast forward 7 years later, and that Regatta is like the pen.
It's been one of the steadier pens.
So there must be something about it. I don't know. I don't know, man. So yeah. Let's give it a try. I feel like I've been sleeping a little bit on the Regatta, maybe not giving it a fair shake.
The thing I will say is I have at times written with the Regatta, not for long periods of time. So it'll be interesting for me. I own many Regattas because they're all like special editions and they're all really cool looking materials and lots of carbon fiber and wood and, now shell and stuff like that. So I will be curious to actually use it more because it has been a while for me. That grip is going to concern me. I think the cap is going to be fun because it's a magnetic and it's got that loud clink, but the step on that thing and the size of the grip, I'm a little concerned about how I'm going to actually feel about it, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
So Me too. So let's both give it a shot. We'll pick the Regatta. We'll choose some different nibs, some different ink and kind of go from there. And we'll talk about that next week.
And I will also say last week and perhaps a week prior, we got some requests on our YouTube comments about, hey, why don't we, have the pen ready or we ink up the pen that we choose the week prior so that kind of you can see us getting started. The real truth is
you're assuming we plan way more than we do.
That's it.
I had a bulleted list of some things and I was hey, Drew, as we were setting up to record here, I was like, hey, what are we going to do for next week? I don't know. Yeah. Just look at the list, pick something.
You're probably giving us a little too much credit there. We certainly would if we had our stuff together, but you have no idea how much of what we talk about here is either completely on the fly or stuff we came up with yesterday afternoon.
90% of it.
It's a lot. Yeah. So, that Brian and I are it's kind of bad because he and I both are procrastinators that work pretty well under a deadline at the 11th hour.
We work better under pressure, I would say.
Yeah. So that's what you get. Sorry.
You want a little story here? I know we're going long, but whatever. We always go long. So perfect example of why I often procrastinate. So COVID life, right? The DMV right now is not a place that you can just walk in. Department of Motor Vehicles. I know it's called different things in different states and countries and stuff, but if you got to register a motor vehicle of some kind. So I have a new trailer that I bought, right? It's technically not a motor vehicle, but it still has to be registered. It's got brakes on it and stuff. So whatever. So it's a new vehicle on the road. It has axles and tires. So I had to register it. Well, you can't just walk into the DMV and get an appointment like you could before COVID started. So I had to make an appointment 6 weeks ago. So I was like, okay, I looked up on the website. This was, again, 6 weeks ago when I made the appointment. I looked it up. I was like, okay, I need to get this form, blah, that. Okay, I got all my paperwork in order. Cool. Well, I try to be proactive, and I put all of this paperwork in my truck, which is the thing that hauls the trailer, right? They're associated. So I was like, I'm going to put it there. I'm not going to lose it. Perfect. Well, my truck has a little bit of an issue. So I brought it to the mechanic yesterday. Guess where the paperwork is? In the truck the morning of my DMV appointment. So I'm driving back from the mechanic, and I'm like, crap. I was like, wait a minute. Where did I put that paperwork? Did I put it in the truck? That was a long time ago. I haven't seen it in the truck in a while. Shoot. So I call Rachel. I'm like halfway back. I'm like, Rachel, can you look in this place and this place and this place and this place? Because I know it's been in all these places. Can you check all of these while I drive back to the mechanic, just in case it's there? Turns out it was in the truck, and I did remember correctly. I just didn't remember that I remembered correctly. I was trying to be proactive, but then I forgot that I was proactive, and I still ended up running around like a maniac at the last minute. Anyway, saved myself literally no work and no stress, and just caused myself a bunch of extra time. But I did get to the DMV in time, and now my trailer is registered. So it all worked out. But like, it was just a whole bunch of extra nonsense. I was like, why? I should just wait until the last minute, and then I would have known where everything was at least. And then I forgot to get Rachel's signature on the thing, and I had to fill out all the paperwork again at the DMV anyway, which was kind of funny. But I needed like the bill. I needed like the bill of sale and all. I needed other things, but like the form that I proactively filled out was basically useless because it had Rachel's name on it, but I didn't have her signature. And I had a 15-minute window at the DMV, and I had to wait 6 weeks to get it. So I was like, daggone it, I'm going to fill out a new form, and Rachel's name's just not going to be on this trailer. So now it's
I'm sure she's fine with that.
She was like, oh, I don't care at all. She's like, whatever. I don't want anything to do with that trailer. She will never touch it or see it or drive it or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, this is my life.
Man.
I'm sure you can relate.
A whole bunch of extra nonsense.
Whole bunch of extra nonsense. There's our show title, maybe. All right. Well, I didn't mean to like go right into the what's happening portion of our segment here, but that's sort of what I have happening. I got a little more, but let's you jump into it, Drew. What's been happening in your life?
Well, my wife had her last show, so she does musical theater, so she finished that out.
Nice.
And now she's starting a new one, so going right back in. That's
already?
That's been good. Yeah. They're ramping back up now. You know, they're able to have people in the theater spaced out with masks. So she's been really happy because as a performer, you know, it's not like a hobby. Like I can do all my nerdy stuff at home, you know, and my little hobby hole is always full because I can do it at home. With her, it's like you can't just. I mean, I'm sure she could try to just randomly perform and sing throughout the house, but it's not the same. So I'm glad that she's having the opportunity to do that. It was also her birthday this past weekend, so we celebrated that. Yeah, and then we will continue to do that because she also had a show on her birthday. So that'll continue throughout the week. And I needed to choose another video game, Brian. Serious business. I completed a game and moved on to another one, and I originally had chosen a Lord of the Rings game, and super excited about that. I bought it for like $7, and it was too much like Assassin's Creed, which is another one of my favorite video game series. But it was like Lord of the Rings, Assassin's Creed, like running around, sneaking around, doing
problem?
Stealth.
It was too much like your favorite game?
It was, because I'm like, I could just play Assassin's Creed, and it would be better because there are no substitutions. Assassin's Creed is the best. So I was like, I also played one recently because, you know, so I moved past that one. So now I'm trying to play Final Fantasy 15, which, yes, Final.
Is that the newest one?
15. It is the newest one, yeah. Well, technically, it's the newest. Yeah, it's the newest one.
The newest. They probably had like offshoots or something, right?
Yeah, they've had a remake since then of an older one, but yeah, technically it is the most recent chronological Final Fantasy.
Wow, 15. That's 15. Crazy.
And ironically, the first one was called Final, but there has literally been no Final Fantasy. But I had started it, and something else came up, and I had stopped it. But I'm committed to it now. But it's very relaxing. It's actually kind of, it's just more easy, but there's a lot of cooking. Like whenever you camp, you like select ingredients and you make food. So it's actually really relaxing and kind of soothing in a way. So I played it last night. I'm like just leaning back on the couch, like just driving through the countryside, and it's pleasant. As I get older, I'm like, let me just kind of lose myself in a game. Like,
nice.
I'm like, if I'm riding a horse, I'm like, no, we're just gonna trot. We're not gonna run. I got nowhere to be.
Where's the fire? Where's the fire?
Yeah, right. Set that thing to easy. I'm like, I'm not looking for a challenge. I'm just like,
they're gonna come out with a Final Fantasy 16. You know, you got time.
Yeah,
you can play this one at your own pace.
Yeah, I'll wait for this thing to go on sale for $7. I'm just
there. You go. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's me.
You're clearly getting more patient and more mature in your later years here, Drew. As it relates to video games, of course.
A big part of that has been collecting like retro games, because I've been doing that for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And it's become very obvious to me that if a game is good, truly good, it's going to be good forever. So whether you play it now or later, if it's truly good, you can play it 10 years from now and it'll be just as good. So
good point.
Yep.
Nice. So I already talked about my trailer misadventures. Last week was an interesting week for me because, my kids are now back in school in person for the first time in a year and a half. It took 3 days for Joseph to have a potential COVID exposure. So we got the call in the middle of one of our leadership meetings that we had to come and pick up Joseph immediately and quarantine him for the remainder of the week because he had potentially been exposed. He thankfully was not ill in any shape or form. So it all worked out, but certainly did not help the anxieties and stresses related to our kids going back to school, because we were like, oh gosh, are you kidding me? Really? Like 3 days, that's all it took. But he's fine. We talked about Rachel had her little foot surgery thing. She's recovering, but it's slow going. So combine like the fact that Rachel has not been able to do much around the house and she feels really bad about it. And then like the kids, are what they are. And now there's backpacks and other paperwork and things involved with the normal house setup. And then Joseph was quarantined and it was just like, all right, I'm kind of at my limit. So I ended up taking off like basically the last like day and a half of last week because I was kind of done. When I say take off, I didn't mean like trotting on a horse in a video game. It was like, okay, this garage is a disaster and I'm tripping over bikes and everything every time I get in and out of the car. This has got to change. And so I basically spent 4 days like reorganizing the house and, taking stuff to the dump and, all this, just literally getting the house in order. I mean, it's still not in order, but it's better. So that'll be a consistent thing. I'll have to keep going. And then also I have a metal carport that I'm assembling. Got that from my parents. They were getting rid of it. And I was like, well, what are y'all going to do with it? And they were like, I don't know. Who wants an old metal carport? And I was like, I might, So I took it because I have all these like crap that I bought for the yard because I'm like actually trying to maintain actual grass. And so I have a dethatcher and I have an aerator and these other things that you like pull behind the mower. I don't need to like store that in a garage or whatever. I just needed to, have some sort of covering. So I was like, a carport's like perfect for that. So I've been assembling this carport. It has been a chore, but anyway, it's happening. So doing that and then just like watching lots of YouTube videos about, carports and driveway maintenance and all these outdoorsy things because my driveway's like got some cracks in it. And I've had like we've been living here for 10 years. I have a paved driveway and there's like erosion that's happened next to the paved driveway. So now in some parts there's like a 4 or like a 6 inch drop off the driveway. So you like the kids are like rolling their ankles and when trucks are driving over it, like some of the edges are starting to like get damaged and stuff like that. So I got to like address that. But you've seen my driveway, Drew. It is not short.
No. It's out there. Did you say that you were watching YouTube videos about carports?
Oh yeah, of course. Carports and it sends me down a rabbit hole, Drew. I learn about like how they design culverts for highways and how to do asphalt patching and there's that
like,
Yeah.
but carports. What does a YouTube video about a carport say?
Well, I had to move this carport, so I had to.
But like you were the one that took this thing down though. So like,
oh, I took it down. And I put it back up. Originally, I was going to try to move it in one piece. So I was researching like how are people doing that. But every video I found was like, you know, rednecks that were like, hold my beer and let's move this carport. And it was like the sketchiest looking thing. And I was like, this looks like a terrible idea. And then I actually researched through like the Virginia Department of whatever, transportation or something like that. And like to transport something that large, you need permits and all these kinds of things.
Oh my God.
Like, no, basically a terrible idea. So I was like, oh,
Nice.
maybe I can disassemble it in larger pieces, not have to take it apart as much. That basically ended up not working at all. And I had to essentially take the whole thing apart. And then
knowing you
probably
you probably did a really great job keeping all the screws separate, labeled, and packaged together, right?
Oh, not at all. No,
No?
I did label. No, I did. Well, yeah.
You're
I
usually
definitely
really intentional about all that.
I did keep all the screws. Yeah, I did keep all the screws separate, but I labeled every piece, but I just wasn't like, you know, it was like 95 degrees when I took this thing apart. It took me
I
7
remember you telling me about
7
that.
hours
That was
to
like
take
the
it
worst
apart.
week ever.
Yeah, and I had to do it by myself just because of conflicts and the timeline and stuff like that. So, yeah, I took apart an entire carport in one day by myself, transported it here, and now I'm reassembling it over many, many days. But it's okay. I'm under less pressure to rebuild it than I was to take it down. So I'm finding that to be more relaxed. Plus, it's just more fun to like build something. I like taking things down and disassembling them when you don't care what happens to them next, because then you can just like destruct it and it's a lot of fun. When you're trying to take something apart very intentionally that you know yourself is going to have to reassemble, that's stressful to me, you know.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh gosh, how do I label this? All these pieces look the same. What labeling system do I come up with? You know, so I took tons of pictures and had to write like with Sharpie on different parts and all that. And then I look at the Sharpie and I'm like, it's like halfway faded. And I'm like, oh crap, is this a 5 or a 2? I don't know. You know, so that's what I'm living in right now. As I'm sweating through my pants and activating
and your phone's taking pictures.
my phone and texting them to people. I'm just kidding. It's not texting,
man.
but yeah. So anyway, those are my adventures. But you know, frankly, I love it, especially because I am at home a lot. And so like when I finish up a workday, like literally when we're done with this pencast, I'm gonna like go to upload the footage, and then I'm gonna like throw on some dirty clothes and go work on my carport again.
Nice.
And then just like mentally, it's like whew, the rest of the world doesn't exist. I just get to like clear my head, smell just the leaves rotting and everything that happens in the fall. You know, it's gonna be great.
Just me and my carport.
Me and my carport smelling my rotting leaves while I sweat through my pants. It's gonna be great.
You enjoy that, buddy.
I'm very excited about that. Well, you ride your fake horse and trot to your campsite while you cook your make-believe food. We all have our weird things. Come on.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. The problem is I've been choosing really relaxing games, and I always play them late at night, and they've been putting me to sleep. So maybe I need to stop playing relaxing games, because I will literally just start zoning out.
I think that's okay, Drew. I think you should lean
I think
into
it is okay too.
Lean into
and
it
that's
a little bit.
and that's with coffee at like 8:30. I still just pass out.
That's all right. That's all right. Clearly, your body needs the rest. So, cool. All right. As far as company updates, we do have a few things. So earlier this week, I mean, technically today as we're shooting this, we normally shoot this on Wednesday. We're actually shooting it on Tuesday because we had some schedule conflicts. But earlier this week was World Gratitude Day. So that was kind of fun. We got to write some, notes of gratitude to each other inside our company. And that was pretty fun. Try and celebrate a little bit. We're trying to just since we can't all be together in the same building with this COVID stuff right now, we're trying to figure out any way possible that we can just share our culture with each other as we go about it. And that was kind of one fun opportunity we had this week. So that was pretty neat. We got some cool videos in the works. We've shot a whole bunch of stuff. We're in the editing phase of it right now. It takes a little longer to do everything right now, but we're gonna have some fun stuff coming out in the next month and a half, something like that.
I was looking at, I'll be putting out a video on how to use a loop, right? And I was watching that today, just kind of looking it over. And I was saying something about and we'll do a whole nother video on that. I said, instead of whole other video, I let the Virginia come out, Brian, and I said in the video, whole nother.
Whole nother. Oh yeah. Embrace it,
I heard
Drew.
that. I'm like, God,
this is your heritage.
Dang it, Drew. No, it's...
That's right.
I'll get a whole nother video on that. Golly. We're not going to tell you how to tune your nib today.
That is such a spot-on Sheriff of Nottingham from the Robin Hood animated Disney movie in the 60s.
The safety on old Betsy.
You can really nail certain impressions, Drew.
Oh, God.
That one, LeFou, and then Kermit the Frog. You just you nail those. You nail them.
Yeah, Kermit's fun.
Yeah, you're good at that. Nobody's going to want to hear it, but we're not going to give it to them.
No.
You can just bust it out randomly as you feel inspired. Cool. Okay, and then, so we got some cool stuff in the works. We're starting to plan out for our holiday season because, believe it or not, we have already been planning for it, but now it's like, okay, we actually going to really start planning some stuff out. We're not going to do anything crazy. We've talked about this before, but we're just, don't expect a lot. But we're going to do some emails and take some pictures and stuff. It should be fun. And then we do have one thing that's kind of cool. So if you've actually placed an order with us this week, or within the last week and a half, we did implement something new. This is on our tracking pages. So once you've placed the order, to get the tracking updates, we've got some better branding, some more frequent updates, hopefully more accurate updates. This is something we've been working on, I'm not joking, for 5 months, to be able to have some of these features, and just more information, better updates, more pleasant visuals when you actually go to the tracking and stuff like that. So, if you happen to notice that, cool. If you happen to not care, okay, less cool, but I'm still glad we did it. So anyway, hopefully you just get a little bit better experience, especially the biggest win, I think, is just, it used to be that we would, pack up your order, right? We would do the shipping label and all that kind of stuff. So we'd actually do it. It would charge it. We would get the tracking number and all that kind of stuff. And in our system, it would automate, once we did that, it was then connected to your account, and then it would send you an email saying like, hey, here's your tracking number, yada, yada, yada. Well, it couldn't distinguish with our old way that we were doing it between what had just had a label generated and what had actually been picked up by the shipping carrier. So basically the way that it was portraying it was like, hey, your order is shipped and it's on its way, and people would go to check the tracking and it would be like, it's not in our system yet, because it was sending you to the shipping carrier, but they hadn't picked it up yet. So then people would call, and Drew, because you were in customer care for quite a long time, people would call and be like, what's happening? My tracking's not working. And you're like, well,
check
it's still in the building.
6 p.m.
Yeah, check back tonight. It's not updated yet. And this is like a regular occurrence. So hopefully now it's going to have more accurate intermittent updates like that, saying like, hey, your order's now like ready for pickup, still at our location, but it'll get, and then when it enters into the system, hey, it's been picked up by the carrier, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that that'll be a really nice win for you as you're checking the statuses of your orders, especially because as we enter into the holidays, I'm just expecting things to be kind of bananas like they were last year, because they're already talking about having trouble with FedEx and UPS and USPS and the carriers. And it's just going to be a kind of a crazy holidays, because they're not going to have enough people to ship all the things that need to be shipped. And just be ready for that. Order early, everywhere, not just us, everywhere, everything you need, because it's going to get messy. There we go. All right.
Yes, indeed.
You got anything on your desk, Drew, that you're playing with?
I've got a lot of things on my desk. Yeah, still playing with these Pelican twists, trying to figure out this converter situation. It's been interesting. So we talked about last week how we're having a hard time trying to figure out the converter fit issue. I actually put a normal converter in here, and it just stays in the butt of the pen. But then if I attach it, it seems to work just fine without actually plugging it into the grip section. And I've been using this for about a week, and nothing bad has happened. So that might be the solution, but we're still going to be looking for a converter to fit a little bit better. So
the result of this means that you can't fill the pen through the grip section with the converter attached because it's not grabbing onto it.
Correct.
But if you fill the converter directly into your bottle of ink, it's essentially becoming like a self-filling cartridge at that point.
Yeah, you could use something like the Pineider snorkel filler or something like that to fill, directly into your converter, or you could just syringe fill the thing.
You could syringe it, or you could just dip the converter itself down into the ink, whichever you're more comfortable with, assuming the ink is full enough. If you're like at the bottom of a Noodler's bottle, it's really tough to get that deep down in there. That's where the snorkel is pretty crucial.
Yeah. So that's been interesting. Been playing around with that.
Nice little hack there. Good job.
Yeah, so we're figuring it out. The question is, will it be worth it? So, TBD on that one.
Yeah.
But did write some letters of gratitude today, and I used my Diplomat Arrow with the Noodler's Beaver still in there, and then I broke out the TWSBI ALR with Noodler's Navy in it, and man, this thing just writes like a dream. I've just been loving that.
Nice.
So I've been writing with that one a lot as well.
Awesome. I have no idea what's on my desk because I was quarantined with Joseph last week and I literally could not come into the office. I believe that one of our customers sent us some chocolate, which was nice to share with the team. So I helped virtually coordinate that getting distributed.
Yeah, that was on your desk. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's not there anymore. But hey, that's all right. That's fine. As long as everybody gets chocolate, I'm happy. So yeah, I've been at home. I've been doing the home thing, but again, that's all right. I'll make it into the office at some point now. Joseph's good, so everything's back to normal for us. So yeah, there we go. All right.
Delightful.
I think we've trotted along on our virtual horse long enough on this episode. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up, but just want to thank all of you for watching. Please leave us feedback on how we're doing. Let us know how much you're sick of Drew and how much you wish that he would just be different than what he is. Because I'm sure it's good for him to hear. Maybe eventually, if we all work together, we can change fundamentally who he is as a person. Because I think
Thank you, Brian.
That's really needed. Yeah, we're here for you, Drew. We support you in being a different person than you are.
Yeah, that's good. I hope that comes up on my evaluation.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's coming. Don't you worry. I'm just kidding. I'm doing all my mid-year evaluations right now for everybody who cares, but no one does. But that's okay. Unless you happen to manage people, and then you know what's involved. But it's fine. I'm not as mean. I'm being mean to Drew right now, but he knows how I feel. Definitely check out gouletpens.com for all your fountain pen, ink, paper needs, etc. You can email us if you're in the audio version. You can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. And I have a random fun fact for you that's somewhat timely. So this past Monday, we saw what's known as the harvest moon. So the harvest moon is the full moon that occurs during the autumn equinox. And it's when the Earth's equator most closely lines up with the sun's center. It is noticeably brighter and rises earlier than a typical full moon. It always appears sometime in September, October, and this harvest moon can appear almost an orange color, like a pumpkin-y kind of color. So that's kind of timely with the seasons. This bright early moonlight has long been helpful to farmers as they harvest their summer crops, hence the name Harvest Moon.
Ah!
Isn't that neat? I kind of wondered where that came from. So there you go. Harvest Moon. Autumn equinox, full moon, pumpkin in the sky. Helps farmers.
That's cool.
Right?
Didn't know that.
That's my fun random fact for you all today.
Also a video game series.
There you go. All kinds of knowledge coming at you. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful week. We will catch you on the next one. And right on.